Good afternoon, everybody. It's Mark Wilkins, or as I prefer, be called Dutch because of my passion for Dutch oven cooking. Today, we're going to take and make some sweet and sour chicken. So first off the bat, we got to get some coals going. So over here is our chimney. We've got it loaded up with charcoal from Kingsford. Put a little lighter fluid in there, a little go-go juice. Light her up. We got a little bit of a wind today, and so we'll work with that, try and make everything come out okay. We're going to take and fry our chicken in our 10-inch in some oil in there, and we'll actually make our sauce in the 12-inch, and that's what we'll actually cook the chicken in once we get it fried. Okay, everybody, we're back again. What we're going to do is make sure that our ovens are clean. So I've got a little bit of vinegar we're going to spray in there, spray on our lid. Use a nice clean rag and just wipe it around. And what that does is kind of sweetens the pot, kills any bacteria that might be in there. So now that we got that done, we're just waiting on our coals to get going. Okay guys, we're back. We're going to take and start our sauce. So we're going to take some of our coals that we've got ready, and we need about 9 on the bottom. Just going to spread those out in a circle about the size of this oven. And into my Dutch oven, I've already added 6 cups of sugar. I know, that sounds like a lot. I probably actually only put 5.5 just to make us diabetics a little more friendly. Just put that on there. To that, we're going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. And when we get ready, I get done, we'll post the recipe in the first comment in the bottom of the video so that you can print it out and use it for your own. We're going to add 1 cup of vinegar. We're going to add a 1/2 cup of soy. I measured it already. This is a recipe I actually got from my aunt. And love it. It's so good. We really enjoy it. And we've added a little bit to it to enhance it a little bit. And we forgot to open the ketchup. Can you believe that? Now we're going to add 2 cups of ketchup. Once we get that all in, we're going to take and stir it all up and let it come to temperature and kind of mix together. And then we'll start cooking our chicken. We've got a nice, good chimney of coals, and so we need to get our oil heated up that we can fry that chicken in. So we're going to put quite a good sized batch down in here. Use our tongs to spread those out. That wind is actually going to help us today because we need that extra heat to get that oil hot. So we'll spread out a whole bunch of them there. Now that's not typically what you would take and put under an oven if you were baking, that's for sure. It keeps wanting to jump up there to see if it can be burned. So we're going to set our lid off to the side and grab our oil. And while that's heating up, we're going to take a pause and get everything else ready. We'll be right back. Okay folks, we're back. We're about ready to get going with our chicken. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a whole container of this cornstarch, and I've already stole some out of it, but I like to have plenty. And what happens is this winds up being kind of your breading on your chicken. Gives it a nice crust. And you could add pineapple to it if you wanted to. That's up to you. We've got 3 eggs cracked in there. I couldn't afford a whole dozen, so I only bought 9. Just kidding. We had fun with it. So, mix up our eggs. And normally this recipe calls for 8 chicken breasts, but I like using chicken tenders. You have some people with small appetites, so that worked quite well for them. So how we're going to do this is we're going to take and dip our chicken first in that egg. Just throw a handful of those in there. Get them coated. And then we'll take them one by one, just kind of drip them off a little bit so it's not too heavy, and throw them in our cornstarch. Slippery little suckers. Sounds like a movie I saw once. And you see that I'm using some gloves. Boy, it makes it a lot better to do that. And sometimes I like to take them, kind of just squeeze that cornstarch into them, kind of get them to stick to it a little bit better. And if you're really feeling ambitious, you could take the chicken and dip it in the egg twice, and back in the cornstarch again. That's up to you. That's a personal preference. We're just going to do once today. So I'm going to lay that first one down in there. And yeah, it looks like it's going to start frying pretty good. Second one. Third one. And my cameraman, Michael, he's going to keep an eye on it. Make sure that we don't let them go too long. I get to talking sometimes, and let the gift of gab get me, and I forget about some things. So, interested in hearing from you what some of your favorite recipes are that you like to cook in Dutch oven, or some of your experiences, good or bad. Trust me, there will be some instances that I talk about where we've kind of messed up some things, and it usually involves my uncle when he's cooking with us, but shout out to you, Gary. One more. Yeah, we'll let those cook for a little bit, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves where we cool our oil down too much. Okay, I'm going to rip that glove off just for a second. We've got plenty of them. Come over here and stir our sauce. And you can see that ketchup is kind of still clumped up in there, but our sugar is melted. And so it'll come together and be some really goodness. Now, as I said, I've doubled the recipe for the sauce because typically everybody says, man, I wish there was more sauce. So we've learned to take just double of it. Now Michael did notice something that I didn't catch because I was busy talking, but as I brought that charcoal over here and I started to dump it, the ashes started blowing over towards this oven. Fortunately, none of the ashes got in the oven, but that would have been some camp pepper flavoring. But just always be cautious and mindful when you're dumping your charcoal and ashes blowing around. Fortunately, we're in kind of a desert rural environment, dirt, so I'm not worried about anything catching on fire out here. But if you're off in the forest, you got dry brush around you, definitely be cautious of any flying sparks. Okay, so while that's going, we're going to grab another glove. Ready? Okay, our chicken's frying up here pretty good. We're looking good. So we're going to get our next batch in the cornstarch and get it ready. Mix that all up. And as you can see, boy, that gets to be kind of a sticky mess. So these gloves work really good as long as you keep your sleeves up out of it. So, go down here and get our tongs. What do you think, Chief? Okay, our chicken's frying up quite nicely, so we're going to start. Well, we added some of it over here to our pot. We'll go ahead and just tip those up on end and try and drain as much grease off of them as we can. Don't get too worried about it. Put that in there. See how when we have that stuff in there, our oil is kind of boiling around the side, so we've got plenty of heat in there. And if you do this at home, you can just put it in a skillet up there on the stovetop and do it there. last pieces in there. That about does it for that. And when you weren't looking, we kind of refreshed our coals underneath. Got a little more heat going on underneath there. And now we're done. We can strip off those gloves. And while this is finishing up with the browning here, we're going to take and dump some of our coals out. Don't have a whole lot left out of there, but what we're going to do is we're going to start preheating our lid. And so we're just going to grab those coals and just throw them down there on the bottom underneath our lid. Now what we're doing is we're getting this lid preheated, so when we put it on, it's ready to start doing its job. We've already got our sauce heating in the oven, so the oven's nice and warm. Our chicken that's in there is already starting to cook, but you know, at home you get a recipe and it says preheat your oven to 325, and that's about the temperature that we normally cook this at. And if you let it go for a couple hours at 325, you're great. If you want to go 350 for an hour, hour and 15, you're good too, as long as your chicken's done. We've already fried it up in the hot oil, so it's pretty much on its way. It's pretty much done up to temperature. So in that sauce and absorbing those flavors, now it'll be great when the time comes. Our chicken is just about ready to add it all in there. We've refreshed our coals here, so we're going to take and gently lift our oven. And you can see how it's starting to tip already because of that liquid that's in there. And that's a safety tip, is always be careful. Don't pick it up if it's got a little lot of liquid unless you've got a second hand with a leather glove to hold it and keep it steady. Otherwise you'll be wearing that all the way down your pants, and it's hot, it's sticky, it's gonna hurt. So we're gonna take and get that over, so that's back on our good coals. Now we're gonna take our other chicken, we're gonna add that to our sauce. Our lid is preheating down below. And now we're just gonna let this all get together and marry each other and cook. Take the spoon out of her way. And this part likes to always let it go a little bit longer to get crispy on it. I'm hungry, so we're not waiting. I'm gonna bounce those back in there and get that sauce all over them. Get them baptized. A little tiny, so take these off and refresh them with some good fresh coals. We'll let this cook at about 325, 350 degrees for a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half. Like I said, I'm hungry, so we're going to eat. Normally I would take my lid lifter and just pick up the lid and twist it off and dump those coals off, but because we're out here in the wind, I kind of want to get that lid on and keep it on there inside our chicken. So once we get these all lined up, we're going to let her cook, and then we'll be back to show you the rest. So this is where I go, ouch! Just kidding. Okay. Nice and one bell pepper. Cool. And I'm going to be cautious because our wind's blowing a little bit. Don't want that ash blowing in top of our food. And now we're just going to add those in. If you wanted to, you could add some red and yellow and make it multicolored and all that deliciousness. Take our spoon, just kind of mix it in a little bit with the chicken. Dump those suckers down in there so that get all those good flavors. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? Yeah. And we're going to serve this over some rice. So about another 15 minutes, we'll be good to go. Okay guys, our chicken should be done. Our rice is done in the house and the girls are hungry, so we're gonna pull it out and take care. First we're gonna dump the coals off this lid and we'll go downwind. Look at that. Now that looks good. All right. Okay folks, it's time to plate up. So we're gonna take our lid with leather gloves and set that aside. Grab our plate, a little bit of rice on there. Spread that out. And like I said, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna put a couple pieces of chicken out there. Like I said, that we really like that juice, so we'll start spooning some of that in there to soak up into that rice. And there you go, folks, sweet and sour chicken.